Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Hurt, along with Alicia Acuna, Lisa Booth, and Joey Jones. And welcome to the Big Weekend Show. Our big story tonight, stop criminals, get fired. It is happening more and more these days. The latest, a 68-year-old woman who worked at Lowe's for 13 years. And a pink slip wasn't enough. She also got a black eye when she tried to stop shoplifters stealing more than $2,000 worth of merchandise from the store in Georgia.
The guy decided he wanted me to let go, so he punched me. I grabbed my glasses, still held onto the cart. He punched me again and again. My fault, but I feel bad at the same time. I don't know. I'm emotionally mixed. I love my job. Loved. I enjoyed working with the people I worked with. I enjoyed helping the customers. I enjoyed everything about it. It was like, you know how you have your perfect job? That one was mine.
And in San Francisco, business owners are begging their communities to get involved and stop the crime so they don't have to. One declaring in a Wall Street Journal op-ed, San Francisco has lost its mind. The other, outraged because he got punched in the face when he tried to stop a homeless guy from urinating on his property.
I can't believe I live in a city where people can just piss in the street and come punch you in the face and get away with it. Guy just ran off. They're probably not going to find him. I'm fed up with this city. It shouldn't be this way at all. Like, this isn't how our city should be.
You know, of all the stories that we cover that kind of drive you crazy, nothing is more enraging than this story, where you have, in this case, a woman named Donna Hansborough, the Lowe's employee. And the thing, Alicia, that just absolutely slays me about this is listening to her talk about how much she loved her job and how much purpose it gave her and how much she enjoyed working with people. And you know, in this, it really does sort of come down to, are you going to side with workers or criminals? And obviously, in this case of Lowe's and in a lot of other places, we're siding with criminals.
I know. Can we just get Donna a job? Because she's the exact employee that so many companies, so many small businesses want. Someone who's loyal, who loves her job. Donna probably showed up when there are so many people out there who don't show up for work. They come in late, and we're going to be talking about that later. But she's exactly what you do want in a person. The problem is that companies and businesses are so scared now because of the litigious nature of so many folks out there. They're worried about getting sued, but they're worried about getting sued by the criminal. That's what they're worried about. And it just makes you stop and say, like, is this opposite day all day long? Because we're doing things the opposite way we used to. You want someone who's going to be there to protect your company, protect your business. It's human nature to protect yourself, and to get in trouble for that, it's just kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, and you know, we hear a lot of politicians talking about workers' rights. What about workers' rights? At what point can a worker not protect his or her store? And, you know, it just, as you say, it's mind-boggling.
Lowe's, at this moment, whoever the manager was that fired her, could you imagine? She has more character in that one interview than that person has probably ever shown to their team, ever. I mean, I couldn't imagine working for someone who would see that, hear those words from her, and think the answer is to fire her. I completely understand that you have policies and there's a reason for them. This is an instinct. This is a reaction. Not, you know, someone is about to steal from you. They're about to do something wrong. She grabs the cart to try and stop them for a moment. Maybe they'll reconsider. Their reaction is to punch her. She put herself in harm's way. She's not trying to sue Lowe's. She's trying to work at Lowe's. She's trying to be a good employee at Lowe's. And what do they want to do? They want to fire her? Lowe's and Lululemon can go park themselves next to Bud Light, because I swear I will build something out of paper and wear washcloths before I shop at either one of those.
And of course, this is in Georgia, which makes it even worse.
Exactly.
We're used to reading about this in a place like San Francisco. Lisa, a art gallery owner named Collier Gwynn, who has had an establishment there in San Francisco since 1984, got into trouble when he was cleaning a sidewalk. As he said, he lost his mind for a minute, but the city has lost its complete. He lost his temper for a minute, but the city's lost its mind. He wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal saying, in my city, shoplifting, drug dealing, and drug abuse aren't treated as crimes, but my act of frustration earned me 35 hours of community service. This is another reminder of how broken San Francisco has become and how inhospitable the current laws are to small business owners and taxpayers. My frustration was no excuse for what I did, but does anyone realize how dire the situation is in San Francisco? And what he did was, as he was spraying down the sidewalk, he sprayed a homeless person. He had called the city 50 times in 25 days to come and help him with this homeless person. And they don't do anything, and then he winds up doing something that's stupid, but paying the price for it.
Well, it's hard to imagine that this isn't intentional.
Yeah.
Because when you reinforce criminality, you're going to get more crimes, right? I mean, we're treating victims as criminals, criminals as victims. But I think it's actually so much deeper than that. I think there's no secret that as we descend further into chaos, you also see that belief in God's at a 22-year low. I think we have a societal rot that's going on right now. We're a broken society producing broken people. And I believe the left has been incredibly successful at removing all the anchors that give a person purpose in life. Right? They vilify God. They mock God. They try to destroy the family unit. They encourage selfishness, not selflessness. You know, so I think it's no secret why we're producing these kinds of people as a society. And I also believe that COVID was just so bad for people. I believe that so many people are still demoralized from that.
They lost connection
They lost connection with other humans and just, life, right? Happiness, joys in life, that isolation, the fear. And so we're just truly a broken society. And I think we need to dig a lot deeper to try to get on the other side.
So Collier Gwynn got arrested, was charged with battery, and then got a restraining order taken out against him. So what happens when the homeless person camps at his doorstep again? Does he have to leave his store? I don't know. But it really does, you have thieves, criminals, these people who contribute absolutely nothing to society. And then you have people who are working who contribute everything to society. And in the case of the art gallery owner, this is somebody, and also the sub shop owner that we showed at the beginning there, these are people who've invested their life savings in storefronts and trying to make their little block better. And it all gets, goes out the window.
Well, the frustrating part is that there are two lessons being learned here. The criminals have learned that they are not going to be confronted by employees, so they are completely incentivized to go in, take what they want. But meantime, employees are learning the lesson to just stand there and take it. And is that who we are as a country? That we have now learned to stand there and take it, otherwise you get punished?
And then you also I always sort of feel like I've never seen some of these scenes in person, mainly because I try not to ever shop. But I would feel like such a chump if I was standing in line to go pay for my basket of groceries or whatever, and there were people running out the door just hightailing it to the car. I'd be like, why am I paying for this?
Yeah, this is what I want. I need to find something I can sell. I need to open a store, and I'm going to have a Deadpool in the break room. Right? You get 5 days off for every punch you land on a thief, right? And if you can take a baseball bat to the hip or something, not totally detrimental, but enough to slow them down so the police can get to them. I mean, I'm going to give you a bonus that year. We need to push back against this. I'm sure, somebody's going to pull that clip and I'll be in trouble tomorrow. But the point being, we got to push back against it. We can't accept the idea that we are so weakened as a society, we're not allowed to take action when someone's doing wrong. That is a key tenet of society. When you see something wrong, do something about it. And to start firing and penalizing and arresting people, I understand, if you're going to spray a bum down with water, add some soap and then it's a public service instead of a piece of harassment. Do something nice for them when you do it. But outside of that instance, these other instances, especially in Lululemon, the things happening in Georgia, I mean, I don't know that Chick-fil-A is the place that we all thought it was or it used to be, but they should reach out to this woman. They're headquartered in Georgia, and she's the kind of person you want working their drive-through line.
But you can't open that kind of store in New York City because if you're Jose Alba, they send you to Rikers, or Daniel Penny's probably going to go to jail for trying to step in and exercise self-defense. But look, there's almost like there was a war on patriotic Americans right now, right? The better person you are, the more they try to crush, demoralize, and destroy you. I mean, that's what it feels like. And I've told my yo-yo story before. I stole a yo-yo from church in kindergarten. My parents made me bring it back, apologize to the pastor, and I didn't steal again because I learned that life lesson. Yeah, from really, I just stopped. Those my days of stealing were over. It was a good lesson learned.
Yo-yo.
Yeah, but we're not reinforcing, those consequences and that.
Yeah. Well, it's the most.
My parents on the case, I guess.
It's the most basic form of self-governance, being able to protect your property.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.